Right now, you probably work roughly at least 7 to 8 hours a day, probably at a job that you don't like, answering to a boss that you don't like, getting paid a number that you probably don't like, and then when you get to your bank account at the end of the month, you are probably even seeing numbers that you don't like. And yet, despite all of these things that you don't like, you still keep showing up day after day after day. And for many of you, it's probably because you don't have any other choice. Now, if we're really looking at this in layman's terms, it sounds like modern day slavery, but for most people, this is the reality of holding down a job. I want to make it absolutely clear, I am not judging you, okay? I've been in this situation before, and I actually think that it's healthy. I think everyone needs to be in this situation at some point in their life. In this video, what I'm going to do is teach you a principle that if you can consistently apply, I guarantee will change this. Now, this is not a magic pill. This is not a get-quick scheme. This is not some sort of course or program. This is a system that you have to actually consistently apply and consciously set up in your life. If you can do this, you'll set yourself up ahead of probably most of the people in your situation or in the organization that you work for. So with that being said, let's get into the actual video. So most people, when they get paid, it looks something like this. Okay, on the left, on this side here, we have what many people would call their expenses or the necessities that they need and the things that they need to survive. So maybe this is your rent, this is your groceries, and this is travel. Right now, for most people, if we're just being honest, this takes up anywhere from 70, even 60, 70, 80% of your income. If you're smart, you'll normally try and cover these things and pay these things first, which is not a bad thing. Again, I've been here, and I would say this is probably what most people do. Then with the remaining, let's just say, if it's 70% in this instance, let's now say this squiggly line or this other part is 20%, and this 20% for most people maybe goes to things like going out to the pub after work with colleagues. Maybe it goes to, you know, seeing friends and family on the weekend. Maybe it goes to you know, certain hobbies that you're into that are expensive or cost money, or the things that you like to do for fun. And again, inherently, this isn't a bad thing, but as you can see, this is again what most people's kind of paycheck looks like. And then you have this little slither here, and again, some people, they don't even have this part of their paycheck because normally that's it. They pay their essentials, pay the things they need to live, have fun, and then just continue the cycle. But in some cases, some people may even have something we like to see called savings. Now, this for the average employee is kind of what your paycheck looks like, kind of how it goes. I've been here myself. I know a lot of people who have been in this situation. And unfortunately, if you continue to live like this, you are never going to escape slavery. And so, because you're not going to build things in your life, you're not going to empower yourself financially enough to break out of the norm. You are doing what most people are doing, and so you're going to live the life that most people live. Now, what I'm about to do is completely flip this system on its head and actually show you a way that you can still have fun, a way that you should be able to still cover your living expenses, and systemize something that allows you to become financially independent or financially free. And for context, as I'm drawing this, the reason why people call it financial freedom, unfortunately, is because in a lot of cases, even the word financial freedom would imply that if you're not free, you're what? A slave. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to put in writing 15%. So the first thing you want to do when you get paid is take 15% of your income. Now, of course, this can be 20%, but I wouldn't recommend any more than this. Obviously, if you can and you're making good money and you're prepared to live frugally, then the more the merrier. But anywhere from 15 to 20% of your income, the moment it lands, should go on these things. Savings, up to a degree, and there's a rule for that. Investments, after of course you have some savings. Some sort of business or hustle. These things, whether people want to accept it or not, any sort of business or side hustle that you start is going to require some sort of capital. It is absolutely impossible to completely launch any sort of business or side hustle for absolutely nothing. Even if it's just £1, you're going to need something to put towards this. And to be honest, if I'm just also being real with you, being able to invest in your business or side hustle is like a catalyst and can actually lead to you making more money. And then this last one, which is grossly underrated, I've wrote out peace of mind, but really and truly, it's just peace, knowing that you have money there, just in case for a rainy day, knowing that you have money there. And this is psychological, and in this channel I will speak on some of the psychological sides to growing wealth and actually having money and becoming financially independent. But something that rich people and wealthy people will often have in common, something that a lot of wealthy people I know do, is they will just have money lying around. And yes, it gives them a little bit of a peace of mind, but it also subconsciously reinforces the idea that there is an abundance of money and that this is not something that you struggle for. And so, yeah, having some money set aside for peace of mind is ideal. But of course, in this case, I would recommend most people, they work in this order. Right, so next onto the main piece of the pie. And again, like we covered these things earlier, so it shouldn't be too surprised. 65% of your income should go to expenses. Again, I know for not everyone this is practical. I grew up in London, and at points this number has been way higher. But of course also I've managed to work to get it way lower. So again, these percentages should give you a rough idea, but if you can, I would strongly recommend just working on these numbers that I'm providing you now. And so these are just things like, yeah, food, stuff we already saw earlier, bills, travel, all the stuff that I mentioned before, stuff you need to survive that you can't live without. You could even put rent or mortgage in there as well, depending on your financial situation. And then finally, 20%. And see, I've even been generous for you guys here, okay? I've been very, very generous. Can now go on enjoyment, okay? So this is, yes, I don't know, going to the pub. This is your hobbies. Probably tell where I'm from by the fact that I mentioned going to the pub twice as the first thing to do with enjoyment. Very common in British work culture, although from what I've heard in America, you guys also like to go out drinking as well. Probably not to the same degree though. Anyways, just fun, okay? One thing about me when it comes to finances is that, yes, I personally have very harsh boundaries, but I think there's a real lack of people in this space forgetting that we are human beings and that psychologically we are wired to want to have a good time, and that there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you have systems and things in place where you are building and actually preparing for your future, it is okay to use some of the money that you work to have a good time. Now again, these numbers are very nice, they're very kind, but the moment you get paid, this is how you should prioritize things. The first thing you do, put that 15% into savings, if you've got savings, into investments, if you have some form of investments, into a business or hustle. And if that's going well, then just have some lying around for peace of mind. 65% goes to, or 65% goes to how you live, and then 20% for fun. Now again, please, you can readjust these percentages around. Obviously, the more that you put on the left side of this diagram, the quicker you will reach financial independence or financial freedom. And I'll make more videos that cover some more techniques and things to do that help with that. Just as a closing point on the savings part, as it's just come to mind as well, I have a rule and it's called something that I like to think of as a war chest, where you have 3 months of expenses and 1 month's income, or 6 months of expenses and 1 month's income. Once you have that, I would say look to have roughly a similar amount in investments. And when I say investments, I mean basically for the most part stocks. And then after that, just everything else flows into business and you have some money aside for peace of mind. Just thought I'd throw that in there, as I even earlier this week in the WhatsApp group that I have had someone ask me a question about whether they have too much savings, which when I found out about their expenses, I said they did. So again, one of the things I like to share and teach is to be fluid with your finances. What may work for me in terms of having 6 months of savings, for someone else they may only need 3 to 4 months, and of course depending on your expenses you may need even less. Anyways, this is the system. Simple, effective, powerful, won't change your life overnight, but I promise you if you implement this, it will put you ahead of the everyday Joe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.